views, and evaluation on things that are happening in the US and around the world. My name is Lincoln Steed, editor of Liberty magazine, and my guest on this program is Camilla Monk Crawford, the editoress. I didn't feminize it on another program. Editoress of Message magazine, which is well, it's hard to describe it. We had a whole program on it recently, but it does have a minority emphasis, doesn't it? There's no question. That's right. It began that way. I'm an Australian, and I came to this country as a teenager and studied history and literature and so on, and I've always been interested in the US. And one aspect of it that, for many people in other countries, sort of speaks a lot to the beginnings of the US, of what used to be called the Negro spirituals. Beautiful music. And yet you only have to listen to one or two of them to know that there's a lot of pain hidden there. What's your take on the black experience as played out through music? And I'll give you a cue of where I'm coming from. It's very heartwarming in our age, which doesn't play the spirituals much, but when they were played, heartwarming, you know, it's nice Christian expression. But to me, there's a hidden story of repression of religion and an imposition of a religion of the oppressor. How did that dynamic work?
Wow,
and how can we redeem it in our age?
If I had said it like that, I don't know if I could get away with saying it like that. But you're very right in that the wealth of the spiritual, I think many years, or at least early on, people were not making that astute observation that you are. People always thought the music of the Negroes was so happy, and it took us to such a wonderful place, and it was so lovely to hear them sing joyously. But hidden into the meaning of the Negro spiritual were everything's from directions about how to escape, and how to subvert what was being done to them and done unto them. But more than that, the theology was correct. The theology was correct, and it is amazing to be able to look back and to see how the Holy Spirit was able to teach people who are subject to the most cruel, inhumane treatment, and under the guise of Christian practice and faith, and see the true Jesus and what he had in mind for them. One thing, I talk about this sometimes. I believe it's beautiful. So many of our beautiful songs that we've all come with there in our hymnals, they come in that minor key. I want Jesus to walk with me. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child. There's one that's not a Negro spiritual, but American spiritual. Sometimes I feel like a wayfaring stranger. And that beautiful minor key, to someone else or to the casual observer, seems like such a bluesy or a jazzy feel to it. That is a deeply restorative sound. And you will notice at the end of most of those songs, it reverts back to that major key. But there's something in that beautiful music that is handed down. I don't know why you asked me this, but this is a big thing for me. Something that has been handed down from generation to generation. And I believe it is spiritual, because I believe as we got to know and as we get to know Jesus, the man of sorrows, acquainted with our griefs, it is in those times of deep need and serious strife and crisis where you come to walk with Jesus and know him, and that is why it is sweet and it can resolve on a sweet tone. You didn't ask me for all that, but it's a spiritual lesson from it, which of course is where we end up. And anybody that comes to Christ, no matter how, they find great stuff. And also, and I need to put a qualifier in, a lot of hymns in general, since at root they're poetry, and a lot of poetry comes from heart anguish and disappointment and so on. There's not a lot of hymns, if you really think it, that are super triumphant and sunny optimism regardless of whatever. There's an element of solemnity and the blessed hope of something beyond this veil of tears in all hymns. But it really is hardly ever